Hey Acers, and welcome to this week's Ace Role Playing Games Club for the week of the 4th of August 2024. So, this week, just to cover where we were with Ace this week, the Fallout campaign is now in full swing, and one of our advisors, Rune, she's getting ready to go off to Southern Utah University, so she will be ending her campaign, which is kind of a fantasy western kind of thing, and it's going to be pretty cool. And also that means that Clara will be jumping back in with her campaign, and also we're going to probably see about moving James into at least a short campaign. We're going to try and keep to the 4 week idea that we're kicking around, the 4 or 5 week idea, and see if we can't get at least the first segment of any campaign finished in that time. So then we can mix up the tables and make sure that no player's sitting next to somebody that they haven't already sat next to in the last month. So now today I'm going to continue on talking about things from the player point of view, and I'm going to talk about hindrances. Now, this is going to be a lot easier once I actually get a couple things in place, and I promise you guys I'm working on this. First, I'm going to learn how to use OBS because I need to be able to show things that I'm talking about. And being able to show the page from the book, especially once I get the player's guides, which I'm going to walk everybody through, that is going to be able to help us to have a visual reference so much easier than just me being a talking head. So I'm going to get OBS, and I'm going to learn how to actually do this, and then I'm actually going to make shorts from my longer videos. So that way I'm not standing up there babbling about, practically nothing every day. If that's what you guys have been thinking, I hope it isn't. I hope actually my shorts have been helpful, and I hope that you continue to watch my shorts and watch these longer format videos and encourage people to like, join, subscribe, all that kind of stuff that every other YouTuber asks for. I'm asking for it. Let's do it. Let's get people to expand this channel and make this Ace Role Playing Games Club not just a channel on YouTube, but an actual club. I want this to feel like a weekly club meeting where you get to come and learn a little bit something more about Savage Worlds. Right now I will, like I said, talk on index card RPG, and when I actually do that, you're going to be discovering it with me, because I don't have the knowledge and the expertise of index card that I do with Savage Worlds. That's my friend Kane is his channel, and he's awesome. I will actually pause here and remember to put a link in the description below to his channel, because if you're interested in index card RPG or want to give it a try, it's definitely worth checking out over on his channel. So yeah, give him a check out. He's really cool. I highly recommend him, and he's just a great guy. He's the one with whom I first played index card RPG, and it was a blast. It was a good sci-fi one too. I'm a sucker for sci-fi, and you guys will find that out as we go along. And then after I get done with that, we'll talk about some of the other games in the set, but not so much about the rules as I have been about Savage Worlds, because I want you to be able to make these Savage Worlds videos a quick reference to how to run it and how to make your games better in Savage Worlds. And hopefully there will be things that you can carry between, which I found, even in my own experience, there have been things I've been able to carry between. Like, for example, I ran Cyberpunk, and I ran 7th Sea from AEG. I ran the original John and Jennifer Wick one way back in the day. And so it was really cool and really fun, and I learned a lot. And admittedly, it was a Savage Worlds podcast that really got me going as a game master, and I'm really grateful that I was able to be even a contributor a little bit to the end of that. And then there was a second Savage Worlds podcast that was the Savage Interlude, that was one of the greatest ones, and you can still get the back issues of both of these, or the back episodes of both of these, on your favorite podcatcher. And I hope to put this up on a podcatch someday, so that way we can get people listening to this podcast. So today I am going to talk about hindrances. Now, hindrances in Savage Worlds I like a lot. I've been I got some gray in my beard, and I'm kind of a grognard. I've been around role-playing games since I was about 12 or 13, and I'm many years beyond that now. And I want to go ahead and definitely suggest you try other games. But some games have flaws for their characters. And I like the fact that Savage Worlds calls them hindrances. And that is this. one, as the title of this video says, nobody's perfect. And that's good, because one of my favorite examples for a hindrance or hindrances to look at is Han Solo in the original Star Wars. Han Solo is loud, he's brash, he's overconfident, he's arrogant, he's kind of just a swaggering ball of charisma as far as he's concerned in his own head. And it's because of that arrogance and overconfidence, which I would, if I was to slap two Savage Worlds hindrances on him, arrogance and overconfidence, those are the two that really stand out to me as the most important ones to apply to Han Solo. Now, a lot of the story of Star Wars and a lot of their escape and the antics and shenanigans that they get up to, a lot of that came from the fact that Han Solo was arrogant and overconfident. Now, on that side note, my son suggested to me that part of the reason why it made more sense actually to have fewer stormtroopers, like in the original cut that George Lucas made in '77, not the expanded cut where he had like 24 stormtroopers just standing there as Han Solo comes charging around the corner with Chewie. He's coming around the corner with his gun, and Chewie's got his electric crossbow, which we only kind of see it in glimpses and flashes and stuff. But they're coming around the corner. They turn the corner, and in the original cut, there's only like half a dozen, maybe a dozen stormtroopers there. But they turn the corner in the expanded cut, in the special editions, which I'll have to make a rant video about that someday. They turn the corner and there's a whole bunch, and so that's when they're like, and they turn around and run back the other way. Well, apparently the reason why the stormtroopers that were there, the only half dozen stormtroopers or something, and they all missed so much, is because the Empire was actually, Vader had actually designed this so they could get away with the tracking beacon on board the Millennium Falcon. And that's why they only sent just a handful of fighters, and enough to make them think they were being shot at, but then they shoot down the fighters and they're gone. Now, as a game master, I can see something to that. I can see that there might have been a plan in Vader's mind, but that still cost him the lives of half a dozen TIE fighter pilots, half a dozen stormtroopers at least, the number of stormtroopers that got zapped by Han, Chewie, Leia, Luke, all of them. And then after those few half dozens have been grabbed and shot off and destroyed, and also, there's the material loss of the TIE fighters. So there was a lot of loss on the Empire's side just for getting a tracking beacon aboard a ship. But then again, we also know that they don't really care about their people. So there's a lot of debate and things like that. But I still think that a lot of the fun that happens in the story happens because Han is arrogant and overconfident. And even him turning around and coming back and shooting down and shooting the wingman TIE fighters to Vader and knocking him out into space, those were all elements because of his hindrances. So they are kind of flaws, they are kind of drawbacks, or they're dark secrets from the character's backstory. So that's an important thing to remember. And you can take, for 4 points, you can take up to 4 points of hindrances for extra character creation points in most Savage Worlds settings. Now, if you're playing superheroes, there are setting rules to say you can take up to 6. But remember, if your players choose to have an allergy to strawberries, for example, because that seems to be like everyone's favorite little thing is, oh, my character's allergic to strawberries. I got the extra 2 points because it's a major allergy. Yeah, maybe a strawberry will kill me, but I'll just make sure to avoid strawberries. Freaking send them to the strawberry shortcake planet, where it is considered rude if you do not partake the strawberry shortcake with them. Or even Strawberry Shortcake, the animated cartoon. Yeah, sure. Now your characters have been called in to save Strawberry Land, and your one character who's got all the strawberry allergies has to interact with strawberries all the time. Just try to help and encourage your players to pick ones that actually make a difference. Try to pick something that the hindrance will come into play at least once in a while during a longer story. So if you have a wanted minor set or you have a wanted minor hindrance, that means that every once in a while you may go to Ord Mantell, to keep with the Star Wars thing, and there's a bounty hunter there looking for you. And that can create some good story, some good impromptu story, some good story that you can throw to your players and they can play with it and they can make more of the story. I mean, one of the best moments of impromptu, just grabbing with it and running, was kind of a spy kind of story that was going, or I can't exactly remember the full story, but it was in Last Parsec with one of my game groups that I was running. And there was a place, I was trying to get them to not go into this shop, to let the courier get away. But I wanted that courier to get away so bad. And so I made it, we were in a big, basically space station that's got a big mall section, and they're in the mall section, and the courier was supposed to run through there and get away with the information. And I made it a lingerie shop. Lots of frilly unmentionables in there. And they went in there, and it turned into one of the funniest adventure pieces I have ever run, which ended up with the lingerie shop realizing that their bras could be used for climbing equipment. And so now it's become a lingerie shop and climbing equipment store. It was so funny, and it's one of the best moments of just letting my players run with their hindrances and letting them run and make the story happen. It's a unique story that will never happen with any other group because there will never be that mashup again. So what you get for hindrances, though, is you get points. Like I said, you can take a minor hindrance and get 1 point. You can take a major hindrance and get 2 points. And you can have a total of 4 points in most settings. So it gives you ways of defining how to roleplay your hero. I mean, you can take more hindrances if you want, but you're only getting 4 points. But it helps you define and roleplay that hero and makes it so their flaws, their character traits, like as an example, heroic is often a hindrance that's taken by a lot of players. And that means that your character is going to do the heroic thing. So, and I've given this example before. If your character's heroic, or you have a character that's heroic at the table, put Granny on the 3rd floor of a burning building and make it so that heroic character feels compelled to get in there and save her. Or a good matchup of 2 major hindrances that will give you your 4 points real quick. And we game masters love it when you guys do this. Impulsive and curious. So if you're curious and impulsive, then you're going to be going around every corner, and when you see a door, you're going to want to open the door. When you see a red button, you're going to want to push the red button. And they're going to have to do things to stop you. Or the game master might have you make a roll just to stop you from pushing the red button with a thing that goes ding. And so, yeah, that's where hindrances can make the play more fun. And then you can use those points in your character creation. For 2 points, you can raise an attribute, 1 die type, or you can choose an edge. Now, there are arguments for either side, but this is the closest thing that Savage Worlds gets to power gaming in a lot of ways. And that is raising, and I suggest this to every one of my players, but you raise 2 attributes by a die type each. So I tend to want to play characters that are a little more balanced. So I'll put a D6. I'll use my 5 trait points and I'm going to get into this more next week. But I use my 5 trait points to up my attributes to a D6 each. Because they all start at D4, unless I have a racial or an ancestral thing that changes that. So I got 5 things that started at D4. I raise all 5 of them using all 5 of the points to a D6, make them average and everything. And then I'll use my 2 hindrance points, or my 4 hindrance points at 2 points each to raise my attribute 1 and 1. Because edges can come along every single advance. But an attribute increase can only happen once per rank. So if you this is kind of the cheat here. If you up your attributes by 2 during the character creation, you can also use your very next advance and up a third attribute to a D8. So that's really what it is. That's the closest thing to a power gaming move you can make in Savage Worlds, is make sure to use a novice advance to advance an attribute and already have advanced 2 other attributes. And it's a good way of going. Now, I mean, obviously, if you're going to want to make that glass cannon, you're going to maybe want to give him a vigor of 4. Or you get him a guy who's not so smart, so you're going to leave him with a smarts of 4, and you can up like your athletics or something like that. But that'll be next week in traits. But for 2 points, you can raise an attribute, 1 die type, or choose an edge. And I don't recommend raising 1 attribute to a D10. As a matter of fact, as a game master, you should limit everyone to a D8 during character creation. During first level novice, limit them to a D8, so that way they are forced to think more creatively. But for 1 point, you can gain another skill point up to the level of the attribute at 1 point. Or for 1 point, you can gain additional starting funds equal to twice your setting starting amount of wealth. So those are, and there's edges that will give you those too, though. There's edges like rich and the advanced rich edge that will give you those same things. So yeah, and that night, I still personally don't like some of the idea of the starting funds, and I'll get to that later when we get to gear. But the main reason is that you're not making this character did not just pop into being whole cloth. It actually that character existed before, so they're not going to be showing up as the moment you finish creating them completely naked and it's time to buy them all their clothes. No, they're already going to have a pair of pants, a shirt, a set of boots, maybe a jacket, just within reason. As a game master, I give them those things, so they can double their starting funds if they want. But I've never actually had my players do it because why bother? So, and remember though, the attribute or the skill increases are limited by the attribute. So if I already have my shooting at a D8, I can't spend 1 hindrance point and make it a D10. I have to actually spend 2 hindrance points. If I want to just use my regular points, it's again 2, but you have to use 2 hindrance points to raise it beyond the match level of the attribute. So that's it for hindrances. There's some great ones. There's some great fun you can have with them. I highly recommend that you take a look at your core rulebook, read that section, understand it a little bit better, and help your players to understand it. Because when they properly use their hindrances, then you can really have some fun. So, this is Mason Emerson with the Ace Role Playing Games Club. I love you. If no one's told you that today, know that I do. And you're amazing. This world is a better place because you're in it. We are here as a suicide prevention club to help you stick around, because I stuck around and it got a lot better. It got a lot better. And I hope to see you at my table. Talk to you soon.